By this point, most of you are going to be extremely tired. We have made you dance, we have made you answer questions and raise your hands. But I want to ask you one more thing. I need you all to repeat 3 legendary words that are extremely important to me. They're going to appear on the board and I need you to repeat them in the loudest way you can. Let's start. Are you ready? Algae is life.
Algae is life.
Perfect. Thank you. So, where to start? Since I was a little kid, I've been blocking out the haters. Just kidding. I've been fascinated with the world we live in and the why of things. This why of things had made me keep trying to understand the world around us, and it is most likely what brought me here today. I remember years ago as a kid, seeing footage of the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. If any of you remember, that was one of the only things that covered the news at that time. You would see images like this. As you can see, each of these defenseless creatures is covered in thick black crude oil, which makes it unable for them to fly and maintain body heat. So at that moment it hit me. If oil does so much harm to life, why don't we just stop using it? Even as it seemed something so obvious back then, I understood that oil is cheap and accessible, making it the perfect solution to fuel our addiction to energy. This addiction harms many aspects of our daily lives, from the polluted air we breathe to the natural disasters caused by climate change. It was at this moment that the idea had been implanted, and it would start a chain reaction that would resurface until years later. Now we come to last year. I decided I wanted to study biological engineering, and as an ultimate goal, I wanted to change the world for good. To do this, every step I take would be in service of that ultimate goal. So I decided to find a way to fill my head with ideas, and I did it through an internship. I had my internship and I filled my head with all these ideas. But sadly, through my internship, I learned that most of my ideas were not possible. They were either already in place, not feasible, or even dangerous to humanity. So I burned through most of them in a matter of weeks, with each failure greater than the last one, until I stumbled upon biofuels, a relatively unexplored field that aligned with my passion. Some background about the science. Since the Industrial Revolution, we humans have been making use of fossil fuels to power industries and automobiles. But today, it has become the center of our lives, fueling this addiction to energy. Since the 1900s, scientists like Rudolf Diesel, this guy, and Nicolaus August Otto had been making steps towards cleaner energies. But whereas sadly neither ethanol nor diesel would solve the problem, they were a huge step towards cleaner energy. So you might be asking, what does this all have to do with me and why this is with me? But I found algae as a potential source of biofuels. For those that don't know, algae is an aquatic plant that ranges from seaweed, as you can see here, to tiny green specks that float in the ocean. Algae is powered by the sun and takes in the carbon dioxide from all the cars and factories we live with, while at the same time, it produces oxygen and biomass, which is, as the name says it, biological mass, that can later be used to produce oil. So I hope that by now you can get it. Algae is truly life. It's not only that we say that algae is life, it is literally life. In this diagram, you're able to see the whole process from the algae taking in the sunlight and the carbon dioxide, and then becoming oxygen and biomass. If the algae is harvested, dried, and ground, it can be used to produce oil, as you would from almond or sunflower seeds. This oil could later be treated to become a slimy green substance that is similar to crude petroleum. Later, in our refinery, this can be used to make diesel that goes straight to your car. The difference between diesel and the algal biodiesel is completely carbon neutral. For those that don't know, carbon neutral means that it doesn't release any extra carbon into the atmosphere, making it environmentally friendly. You might be asking yourselves now, so what can we do with all this information? I want to tell you that for approximately 6 months, I have been growing algae below the stairs of my house, using a lamp, some glassware, and an aquarium pump, just to learn about the process and show it can be done with ease. This is my lab. As you can see, that's really my hand. For the first month, my family must have thought I was going crazy, since I decided to embark on a project I had no idea about. And sadly, I didn't have any remote idea on how to get the materials. But hopefully, through this talk, they understand why I did it all. So this is an issue we need to take more seriously. We need to move from exhaustible fossil fuels to a renewable, clean source of energy. For a moment, imagine all the international conflict that has been caused due to oil, due to the fossils of prehistoric plants. Do you know how crazy that sounds? If we address a problem and decide upon a solution, we dissolve all those problems today. The answer could be inside of this small bottle of green liquid that everybody can produce. This is the algae I produced. For a moment, imagine all the global leaders that have backed regime after regime just to have control over the oil fields. If you don't think this matters, think again of how many families live inside war areas. How many kids lack an education due to school being bombarded? How many civilians have died in the crossfire of these battles for oil? If the contents of this vial shows how it is possible to grow our own fuel, stop international conflict, and fight to save the planet, what's stopping us? What's stopping you? This vial represents all the time and effort I put into this project. It might seem small to most of you, but it's a huge step towards a cleaner future. Due to my lack of industrial equipment, I wasn't able to create huge barrels of oil. But through this process, I have learned everything about growing algae. It has boosted my intellectual curiosity, and it has made me look for new solutions. This vial represents that there is a cleaner future ahead. Through my project, I learned every aspect of growing algae, from keeping it alive to measuring its growth. I hope that one day I will be able to continue my project with the knowledge and resources to implement it and make a large-scale change that changes the way that we as a society live. He is Han Solo from the Star Wars saga, one of my favorite characters, and he said, "Never tell me the odds." Even in a galaxy far, far away, they understood the need of persistence that we should have. And we need to understand we are the future. We have all heard it every day. And it's true. We are the future that is always coming. And we need the persistence that Han Solo is talking about. I once heard that we were born too late to explore the world and too early to explore the universe. And whereas it could be true, the generations ahead of us will say that we were born too late to explore the world. But if we choose, we'll be those who change the world for good. Thank you, and remember, biologically, literally, and humanly, algae is life.